Hello, welcome back to my kitchen. Today I'm making a vegan dish for my friend Ari and looks delicious. I'm even doing the whole soaking cashews thing. So right now I'm texting her to see how much water you have to use for that or if it doesn't matter. But you are going to see something very exciting. She just soaks them basically till the little nuts are drowning. So I'm gonna go ahead and do that. And then I leave this for about 2 or 3 hours. An alternative, according to the recipe, is that you can put the 1.5 cups of cashews in hot water for 5 minutes. But today I have time, so. All right, before we check on our cashews, what we're gonna go ahead and do is you gotta start cooking your pasta, and it just says follow the directions on the bag. So the original recipe calls for shells. I couldn't find any. I have no problem with that. So I got these. That's the biggest size pasta I could find, but I figured I can stuff them. I'm back. It is now 2 or 3 hours later. As you can see, it's a little bit darker. I turned the lights on. So I checked on my cashews. They actually smell pretty good. And I rinsed them and drained them out. And so now I'm ready to make the vegan ricotta. And I'm gonna go ahead and show you how you do that. So you have your 1.5 cups of cashews. You're gonna have a clove of garlic. I just have the garlic from Costco, so I'll probably use enough to taste. Then you're also going to use some nutritional yeast, which my lovely friend had sent to me since I couldn't find it anywhere here. So thank you, Ari. I love you and I appreciate you. So I'm gonna get that noosh going. You'll also need a little bit of unsweetened plant milk. That's about 1/2 cup, and salt and pepper, and a bit of lemon. I'm gonna show you how, maybe. A bit of a mix-up. Turns out this bottom part wasn't screwed on. Don't worry, the nuts are safe. The milk was not safe. We're gonna go ahead and keep trekking on. So the recipe calls for frozen spinach. If you use fresh spinach, you're just gonna cook it. So I'm just gonna steam my spinach really quick in a frying pan. So here you go. Looks like this, and I'm just gonna cook it down with a little bit of maybe salt and water. The other thing that I have is I use my canned tomatoes, and then I actually have a lot of fresh tomatoes. So since my pasta is smaller than the shells, I decided that I was going to substitute and not do as many canned tomatoes, but put fresh and also zucchini along with some basil. So I think it calls for thyme, but I don't have it, so I'm just going to use basil instead. So I'm going to put all of that in as the base. Then I just wanted to show you very quickly, this is something that I got from my sister. She keeps a bag of food scraps inside of her fridge, or inside of her freezer. And so what she does is anything like the butts of zucchini or the middle of a tomato, instead of throwing it away, she puts it in a bag, she starts collecting it to freeze it, and then she uses it for a vegetable stock that she can cook with later. So I'm just gonna put that in my bag, keep my scraps, and put it in the freezer. Well, this is very funny. I think that the shells were an important part of the recipe, but I'm not concerned. So I'm taking the penne, or I should really find out the name. And then what I'm doing is I'm just taking some of the cheese and I'm stuffing it. If you had a shell, this would be like a lot easier. Now I have cooked spinach that I can also stuff in here, but what I'm finding is that it's actually just easier to take some uncooked or raw spinach, stuff it on in. Kind of oozes at the bottom, but you can see I have it kind of on top of here, so it's not a big deal. I just lay it to bed here. So I'm gonna go ahead and keep doing that. And you know, if you can find the shells, I highly recommend it. Seems like that one was a little bit helpful, but okay. Oh well, live and learn. So if you look, like, I have some of the cooked spinach. And if you had a shell, I think that'd be great. It's just a little bit more touching it with your fingers that I don't love. Just kind of pinch the bottom so it doesn't fall out if you want. Put it on in. I'll try the raw again. Just grabbing a few leaves because these aren't that big. pushing it through as much as you want, I don't care. If it pops out the sides, that's fine too. All right, as you can see, they're pretty much all stuffed, and the ones that I didn't fill with spinach, I just put spinach underneath. So now you're gonna go ahead and put, if you have thyme, the recipe calls for thyme. I'm just gonna use basil. I'm gonna spread it out. And then the other thing that you can add are pine nuts. And then if you have vegan Parmesan cheese, that can go on top. You put it in the oven for 400 for about 20 minutes. So then dun, 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 dun. It's all done. It looks pretty good. If you're not vegan, feel free to use ricotta in the inside and Parmesan. And you can also get real shells and not pache. For the fans at home, that's what it's really supposed to look like. But I think overall, I'm happy.